talk about an influence, a hero as a kid growing up. It's huge. Long before there were BMX bikes, we were taking our Stingrays and jumping cinder blocks on the street, jumping over our friends on the street.
Yeah.
No helmets, no anything like that. You know, just doing it. We're all still here.
That one unlucky bastard with the shift
With the
lever right
shifter,
there.
right, absolutely.
Forget that.
I know. That's gonna hurt, bro. That is the truth, man. But it was Evel Knievel, for Pete's sake.
Evel Knievel inspired millions of us with his courage and perseverance. We're building a museum so you can relive those memories and be reinvigorated with that spirit of bravery.
My name is Evel Knievel. I'm a professional daredevil.
Along the way, we meet people involved in the life, the times, and the legacy of the King of Daredevils. Here with their stories is your host, Joe Friday.
Hey, howdy, it's Joe Friday, and I'm here with Danny Koker, our new neighbor.
That's right. How you doing, Joe?
Good.
All right.
We're moving the Evel Knievel Museum to Las Vegas.
That's awesome.
Trying to figure out why it was never here before.
It should be here. I mean, Vegas is a destination city. Everybody from the world comes here, so everybody from the world needs to be here and see what's going on.
Yep, 45 million visitors per year.
Uh-huh.
So that's about 1 million per week. Right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
And the world knows Evel Knievel. So Vegas attracts the entire world, so they need to be coming here and seeing what you got going.
That's true. And you know Vegas.
Yeah.
You know Evel Knievel.
I did. I was very blessed to meet him. I can't say that I was, friends or knew him, but I was very blessed to meet him and talk to him and, be around him, things like that for a little while. He was larger than life.
Was he in Vegas?
Yeah, I met him when New York opened, and he was part of the big grand opening of the New York, and you know how they have that Brooklyn Bridge replica there on the front of the place. So we were invited down, myself and a bunch of guys that I ride with, and they wanted motorcycles out there, and so I'm guessing there must have been 20 or 25 of us that we used to get together and ride all the time. We all bombed it down there on our bikes, on our Harleys, and lined up on the bridge. And that's where I met Evel Knievel. He came out and hung out with us for a while. I mean, what a cool cat.
Huh.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I designed and made the door pulls for the New York Casino.
Really?
They look like little Statue of Liberty's torches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
very cool. Very
that's
cool.
My contribution.
Were you there when they did the grand
Las
opening?
Vegas. No.
Oh, it's too bad.
No.
It's too bad.
I wasn't a huge Vegas fan at the time.
Yeah.
Because gambling. Ugh.
Yeah.
But Vegas has changed a lot. I'm not saying there's less gambling, but dude, there is so much more to do in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I've lived here a couple of times in Vegas. First time I moved here was in '78.
Yeah.
And I was here from '78 to '82. And I absolutely loved that era of Vegas. It was openly run by the mob. There was zero crime in this town. Nobody screwed around, or else you got 86'd, and that was 80 miles out and 6 feet down is where that came from. So that's why nobody screwed around.
I never knew that's where 86
There was no crime. There was no crime. And then as the city grew and we decided to clean up Las Vegas, and they chased the mob out, so to speak, all the crime came in. So, back in those days, it was, I really loved that era, that end of the 70s, early 80s era. And then I left for a while, and I've been back here since '89. And I've really seen this city grow immensely. And like you were saying, gambling was the only industry at one time. But now, the way the city has grown so much, there's a lot of industry going on here. So it's not just gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're in the museum business where I come from. That's
Yeah.
the Evel Knievel Museum, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And then these other attractions that look to me to be successful. I haven't done a lot of, market research, but Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum has made me pee my pants.
What is it?
Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
Oh, I've heard of it.
Ads for it.
I've heard of it. Yep, haven't been.
And then the Mob Museum
Yep.
has got to be the #1 attraction in Las Vegas. And then ours is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But you got one, and I was wondering, what made you open up your collection, show that to the public for free?
Well, it's like this. I'm a huge car collector. So as well as building motorcycles and building cars and all the other crazy things I'm involved in, I collect as well. And so that particular section of my shop, I just turned it into a museum. I turned it into a giant showroom, and I've got, man, I'm guessing 30 some odd interesting vehicles inside there. And, it's just kind of my way of giving back. I've been on television for years, building cars and doing things like that. And people have really enjoyed what we do. And so being in a destination city, everybody comes to Vegas and they kind of want to see what you got going on. So I just open my doors and let people come in and wander around and just come check it out. I mean, my business is running behind the scenes. So
Yes.
if people come in and they want to just wander around and check out the place, I'm happy about that. Buy a T-shirt on the way out. That's how I feel about it.
Okay. That's how you're making the money.
Absolutely.
Scratch.
Buy a T-shirt on the way out. Come in for free and buy something when you leave.
I just loved it. The
Thank
Superfly Cadillac
That's a
was
personal
my favorite.
That's a personal favorite. I love that. Okay, so a little backstory on the Superfly Cadillac. So I was born just south of Cleveland, Akron, Ohio, and I got relatives all over Ohio, but most of my family is out of Detroit. So I spent a large part of my youth growing up between, Akron and Detroit. And Detroit, huge influence on my life, style-wise, music-wise, everything-wise. I love that city like crazy. And so the first time I ever saw a Superfly Cadillac was in the 70s on Woodward Avenue, back when they were, kind of sort of new. And it was like, look at that. That is insane. And it made a huge impression.
What's Woodward Avenue?
Woodward Avenue is still to this day one of the most important roads for automotive enthusiasts on the planet. It's several miles right through Detroit, and 4 lanes each side, both ways. And that's, back in the day, everybody used to cruise Woodward Avenue. And now they do the Woodward Dream Cruise in Detroit every year, which is now, it's been turned into a car show, big automotive event. But it comes by it honest, where Woodward Avenue was the place to be, cruising back in the day. And I mean, even the big automotive manufacturers, Ford and GM and Chrysler, whatever, they would sometimes sneak prototype vehicles, on Woodward Avenue back in the day, and kind of get people's feedback and stuff, see what they thought about it. So that's the first time I ever saw a Superfly Cadillac, and it just always left an impression on me. And then my love for that city and the vibe and the style. So, it's got to be 10 years ago or so now. I found this Superfly Cadillac, and it was I believe it was in Pennsylvania. A broker had it, and it was represented as, absolutely beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And never buy anything sight unseen. I tell people this all the time. But I'm also kind of a nut job, and I get passionate about things. And so I got all kinds of pictures of the car, and I bought it sight unseen. And had it shipped to me here in Vegas. And while it was 100% correct and complete and there, it needed full restoration. I was like, So I took the car apart.
Tinder.
Yep. Took the whole car apart, completely restored it, proper, the way it should be. And that's the car you see. Les Dunham, who is in Jersey, he is the owner and founder of Dunham Coachworks. He is the cat that built the Superfly Cadillacs back in the day. And Les is still around. I got his complete approval on the car. He loves it, and he remembered that car because it had some really special stuff on it. And so
He remembered that car?
Yeah, I remember that car because it's a convertible. It's a 71 Eldo convertible, but he not only did a custom fiberglass tonneau when the top is down, covers the back, but he did a like a roadster setup where it covered the complete back seat, like the Batmobile type of humps, so you can make it like a 2-seater if you want to. And it's all there. It's all there and completely restored. He totally remembered the car. And so, he gave me his stamp of approval on the restoration of it. That's a really important car to me.
I'll bet.
I love that car. It speaks to my soul.
Knievel loved the Cadillacs too.
Big time. I got another car that Knievel had. He had one.
Say what?
Stutz Blackhawk. Remember when
You've got his?
No, I don't have his, but I have one. I have a Stutz Black. Elvis had 6 of them. Sammy Davis had one. Robert Goulet had one. Dean Martin had one. Lucille Ball had one. Evel Knievel had one.
The Stutz.
And I scored a 74 Stutz Blackhawk. and I absolutely love that car.
Is that in your showroom?
It is actually in my private building.
Oh.
Because I drive her. I get her out and I drive her once in a while.
Well, if I see a Stutz on the road in Las Vegas, I know who he is.
They're rare. It's the only one probably running around town right now. You know.
You've got a flower car,
Yeah.
Cadillac at your place.
I do.
That's a lot like Evel Knievel's red
Yeah.
Cadillac pickup truck that he would load 2 motorcycles in.
Yeah. I did the same thing with mine. I put a motorcycle rack on the back so I can put one of my choppers on the back of it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got a screw loose, but it's more fun that way.
What's your favorite restoration? Do you have one?
It's tough because we've done so many. I can tell you one that speaks to my heart. I can tell you a couple if you got time. One that really speaks to my heart was Barry White's widow, Glodine White, who is a beautiful soul. I just absolutely love her. We met over the years. Barry's no longer with us, but he had, speaking of Stutz, is another guy. He had a Stutz 4-port, which is similar to the Blackhawk, but it was a 4-door version. It came out later. He had one. That was his daily driver. And they had a place in Vegas, and that was a car that he kept in Vegas. Well, when Barry passed, he had willed that car to a gentleman that kind of looked over his estate and looked over his stuff. And so that car went to that gentleman. And that gentleman, I guess, kind of ran into some problems in his life, kind of stepped off the curb or whatever, and over the years, and I guess sold the car somewhere, and Glodine and the family had lost track of where he went, of where the car went. It was just MIA. So one day Glodine she's at my shop with me, and because she rides, she's a motorcycle gal, she rides Harley, she's totally cool. I've worked on her stuff at the shop, she's awesome. So we were just kind of chit-chatting, and I knew the car from back in the day and asked her, whatever happened to Barry Stutz? So she told me the story, and she's like, as far as I know, it's somewhere in Las Vegas. I would do anything to find that car. Well, let me tell you, God is in his heaven, and he watches over his kids. That's the truth. So one day, I am literally driving around neighborhoods in Vegas, just shopping. I do that. I like to look for
I've
interesting
seen you.
things. That's
stalking.
That's so, exactly. Yeah, some people think of that way. And I cruise to this one neighborhood, and I miss a turn, and I'm like, So I go down the road a little bit further to make a U-turn. As I go down the road a little bit further, in a driveway, at this little house, is a Stutz 4-port. The paint faded to pieces, 4 flat tires. Thing is spiderweb to the ground. Doesn't look like it's moved in 100 years. And I look at that car and I'm like, that's Barry's Stutz. Because I knew the car from back in the day. That's got to be his. So I go to the door, I'm knocking on the door, there's nobody home. I leave a note. If you're interested in selling this car, please call me. This lady, so kind, it took her a day. My phone is ringing and it's her. And she's like, you leave a note on my house? Absolutely. She's like, yeah, I want to get rid of this car. Oh my gosh, she hated it. Her husband bought it from this gentleman who had the car. Her husband passed. This thing was an eyesore to her. It was her and her daughter. And she's like, I just want to get rid of it. Just get this thing out of my driveway. I'm like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, okay? Because that's who I am. I'm honest that way. Again, God is in his heaven and he's watching over his kids, so I'm not gonna treat somebody wrong. I told her straight up. I said, you got to know whose car that was. And I want to buy it and get it back to the family. So I don't want you to say that I bought this thing from you and didn't tell you the truth about it. So she appreciated me, being honest with her that it was, Barry's car back in the day. And but she was like, come get it. We decided on a number. I bought the car. I called Glodine because Glodine living in California. And I'm like, guess what? She's like, what? I said, I got your husband's car. She's like, no way. Absolutely. So we check all the VIN, we check all the paperwork. It's confirmed, Barry's car. I restored it for Glodine, restored it for the family. What a challenging car to restore. Nobody makes parts for a Stutz 4-port or a Stutz Blackhawk or anything like that. So it was a big challenge to
Do you
restore
make
that car.
parts, or do
we'll
you-
make things. If it doesn't exist, we'll make it. Got a full fab shop, no problem. So restored that car for the family, got it back to Glodine, got it back to her family. She is absolutely thrilled. Her daughter got married. They used the car in their daughter's wedding. It was such a part of Barry's life that now it's back in the family and it's part of their life. And that is a long answer to a short question of an important restoration for me was getting Barry White's Stutz back to the family and restoring that. Yeah. That was a cool one. Another one that I absolutely loved was I did a 67 Corvette resto mod for 4-star General Peter Pace, Joint Chief of Staff Chairman, 4-star General, the whole bit.
Yes.
Met this cat at a really exclusively cool event, and it was like his dream car. That was a really important one for me too as well.
One features prominently in your showroom is the Mustang that you worked on with Dad.
Yeah.
That's got to mean a lot.
I make tasteless jokes with the boys. If there's ever a fire in the building, get that out first, and then go back in and get what else you can. That car, Dad brought that car home when I was 9 years old. That car. Dad was, a musician, didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, did everything he could to get that car. And he purchased that car and brought it home when I was 9 years old. And that thing used to sit in the garage. He'd drive it once in a while. And I remember being a kid, going out in the garage at night and just sitting in it, or looking under the hood or crawling under, whatever. That car was such a huge influence on my life, and I feel so blessed that he got to hang on to that vehicle.
Yes.
And now it's still it's with me. That's probably the most important thing that I own because it was Dad's.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I didn't realize that you didn't have to buy that back.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. That car stayed in the family the whole time. It's literally been with me for 50 years.
And that was in Detroit?
That was actually in Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
Dad was born and raised in Detroit. His part of the family was in Detroit, but the house where that car was in Ohio. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What brought you to Las Vegas?
Business. My father and I, Dad was the biggest influence on my life. He was a musician, brought me up in music, and then he got involved in television and production and things like that. And then he landed the license to put on Channel 33 here in Las Vegas back in 1989. I was living in South Florida at the time, and I had a production company down there. I had a small production company, Edit Bay. Back in the day, so I had 3 Ikegami cameras and a nice edit bay, and I was doing my thing, and he was like, I'm going to put this TV station on in Vegas. You want in? And I said, yeah. Folded up shop in Florida. I came out here, and I thought I was just going to be out here long enough to help put on a TV station, but that was since 1989.
Where did the car restoration come in?
My whole life. My hobby. It's been a hobby my whole life. So most of my family worked for Ford Motor Company out of Detroit growing up. No kidding. They worked right there in the factory on the assembly line, working it, doing it. I got aunts that worked when the factory converted during World War II, when the factory converted to making airplane wings and the materials and things like that. My aunts, were on the line doing that. My father, for a period of time, was on the assembly line, checking engine blocks, the inspection, the old chalk mark inspections on the engine blocks, when checking for leaks, things like that. Dad worked there. My Uncle Peter was an executive at Ford Motor Company back in the day as well. So I grew up in cars. My Uncle Milford was a biker. So cars and bikes, I literally grew up with them. It's been a part of my life as far as I can remember. So whatever I may have been doing for a job or an occupation or an income at the time, there were always cars and bikes in my life. When I lived in Florida, I had a small, I had an edit bay because I was, a camera, director, audio, all that kind of stuff. That was how I, paid the bills. But the back half of that building, I probably had 8 or 9 cars and was tinkering around with stuff. That was always in my life. Fast forward, moving to Vegas, came out here, put on the TV station, shipped my cars, my makeshift shop, and I had a hobby shop, basically in a small warehouse. had a hobby shop, and I was building cars and motorcycles behind the scenes. And then there was a small group of us, a handful of us guys that would get together, and we would, wrench on bikes and wrench on cars or whatever, and go out and play on the weekends or nighttime or like that. And it got to the point where people were asking, hey, where'd you get that? I'd be riding a chopper down the road. Where'd you get that? I want one of those. That's really cool. And it just kind of got to the point of, well, maybe this hobby shop, maybe we should get a license and insurance and open a business. So that's what happened. And a handful of us started Counts Customs. The reason it was Counts Customs was, I don't know if you know anything about this, but when we put on the TV station, Channel 33, I used to host a late night horror show. I was a vampire here in Las Vegas for 10 years. That's the truth. It's crazy. I hosted a late night horror show every Saturday night here in Las Vegas called Saturday Fright at the Movies with your host, Count Cool Rider, which was long for CC Rider. The whole object of the game was this vampire was the world's biggest unliving Elvis fan in Las Vegas. So the character that I played was a vampire that loved Elvis, living in Vegas, hosting horror films, having on crazy guests. This show ran for 10 years here in Las Vegas.
How big of an Elvis fan? Like wearing a jumpsuit or?
No, but no. It was very much a vampire getup, but with the sideburns and the Elvis glasses and the open shirt and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of Elvis vibe in the castle set and everything like that. And that's honest. I love Elvis. I love the King. So all this time that this show was on in Vegas, Saturday Fright at the Movies with Count Cool Rider, behind the scenes, I was doing this cars and bikes. Mm-hmm. So when we decided to open that place as a real business, everybody in town knew the Count. So what do we call it? Let's call it Counts Customs, because everybody knows the Count. Well, I didn't know that eventually Counts Customs was going to be on a television show around the world.
Yeah.
So now everybody around the world is like, why is it called Counts Customs? Well, it's because of this crazy vampire hosting horror films in Vegas for 10 years. That's where that came from. I know, man. It's cool.
That is so great.
I've lived 14 lives already. It's nuts. I don't know. I need an intervention in my life.
And your bar is Vamp'd.
Yeah. Counts Vamp'd. VAMPD. Counts Vamp'd. West Sahara. Old school rock and roll club. That's what it is, man. It's a rock bar, rock club, live music, restaurant, bar, insane. We support the local rock scene, and then we host national bands that come through because it's set up for it. It's a real stage, real front of house, real lights, real everything. So we can have big rock shows in there.
Well, we can commiserate then. But I'm just starting my construction project and dealing with the city. So
it's good luck.
Be patient with me.
It's a challenge, it really is. Especially when you're opening something unique and different. This is not the norm. So when it's not the norm, like when I was doing the rock club up there, or like, even my shop, Counts Customs, open to the public to walk around, city inspectors and rules and regulations and things that don't fall under the norm, it's challenging to get everybody to understand what you're trying to do, so.
Yeah, right. And we've got like virtual reality rides.
Yeah.
Sit on this motorcycle and you can experience what it's like to jump over 17 police cars.
Right. Those are challenges like that, sure. So
it's so rewarding.
It is. When you get it done, it's so unique, it's so one of a kind, it's so different. That's what makes it special.
Yeah. So we're starting our process. We're going to bring that to the Arts District in between the Strip and Fremont.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Wonderful. I do absolutely love our city. I love our Mayor, Carolyn Goodman. God bless her. She is absolutely amazing. She has been so wonderful and helpful to myself and my businesses in overcoming some of these challenges and things like that, opening up a rock and roll club there in West Sahara. She completely helped me out with all that stuff. She's just an amazing human being, and she's old school, her husband Oscar, old school. She's old school.
Definitely.
They're awesome people. Yeah, I can't say enough nice things about that.
Well, I hope the next one's just
Yeah,
as good.
I know, because yeah, she's not allowed to run anymore. That's it. She's done her term. So
I do have to give a shout out right now to the Space, who loaned us their podcast booth. We are building one into the museum that's going to be kick-ass. It's going to be in one of Evel Knievel's old trailers. But the Space has opened up the podcast facilities for us to use in the meantime.
It's beautiful
We really
facilities.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Not only are you customizing cars and starring on television as Vampire and running a bar.
yeah. Well, I don't do the vampire thing anymore, but yeah.
Yeah. Right. But tell me about Music Mob.
Okay, I grew up in music. Dad
Yeah.
was a musician, brought me up in music. I'm an old school gospel singer, so I grew up singing gospel back in the day. And so, amen to that. But I'm also a hardcore rock and roller. And I front my own band. It's a band called Count 77. We're a hard rock band. We're signed with Shrapnel Records. We got 2 original records out. We're working on a 3rd record right now. As a matter of fact, I'm in the studio doing a single right now. But one of my dear friends is Jeff Blando. Jeff Blando, who actually was instrumental in helping me put together Vamp'd. He was the key person in the sound and the lights up there. I mean, he's an amazing musician, but he's also a behind-the-scene production guy when it comes to stage, sound and lights. He's phenomenal. So Blando and I are like brothers. He's the lead guitar player for Slaughter. He's the lead guitar player for Vince Neil, and he does a lot of other things. And he's a wonderful human being.
Slaughter's a name from the past.
I know.
Are they still around?
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. Slaughter's touring right now. They're packing out shows. It's great. Mark's voice is on fire. They're doing wonderful. On the side, Blando has this gig called Music Mob, and it's a trio. Guitar, bass, drums, and then he brings in special guests. So I sit in with Music Mob on different shows, and he brings different guests all the time to do all these great rock shows. We were just talking about this place the other day.
And who's Sebastian?
Sebastian Bach?
Yes.
Do you know Sebastian?
I don't know.
Okay, Sebastian Bach. He's a good friend. He's Skid Row. Remember the band Skid Row?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, all right. Sebastian Bach, lead singer, Skid Row. Now they have gone their separate ways, and Sebastian does a ton of solo stuff now, and he's moved to Vegas. Sebastian's been in Vegas. It's got to be a couple of years now, and lives a raging 37 seconds from my club from Vamped, and we hang out all the time. And he is an amazing singer, amazing front man, and a really fun guy, a really fun, crazy guy. If you hang out with Sebastian any period of time, your face is going to hurt from laughing. So he's a cool cat. Yeah, there's a lot of great rockers here in Vegas. Phil Soussan is another one right up there by the club. He's an amazing bass player. Played with Ozzy. He wrote, Shot in the Dark, was in Ozzy's band, was with Billy Idol, was all kinds of stuff. He lives right up the street too. There's a whole community there. It's pretty cool. Paul Shortino, man, another one. Duke Fame from what in the world was that comedy rock movie from back in the day?
Spinal Tap.
Thank you. Duke Fame and Spinal Tap. Their idol when the band idoled this rocker, Duke Fame.
Yes.
That's Paul Shortino. Paul lives right up the street as well. He's a wonderful guy. There's a lot of great rockers here in town.
Well, I'm in good company then.
Amen, brother.
Old punk
Amen.
rocker.
Yeah. All right.
It's not the focus of our museum.
Right.
But someday.
Yeah.
Someday in the very distant future.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a grand opening.
Not too distant future. You got this.
Okay.
This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. Yeah.
So it'd be fun to get with those guys.
They
But I hate to call them right now because I'm like, hey, what are you doing in 2028?
I love it. Well, like I said, Blando and I, we were talking about it, and he's like, you just let them know when it's grand opening time, we'll put together a show.
All right.
We'll put together a big kickoff show. It'll be a ball. Because we all love Evel Knievel. Big time.
Dude, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to. I was just volunteering at this museum that opened up. Lathan is huge, wonderful collector. And he had some artifacts that he had collected. He decided he's going to make it as his mission to collect Evel Knievel stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of lost to the winds in 1977. So Lathan started collecting helmets, capes, leathers, canes, and kind of put together a little traveling museum that would go maybe to Butte or to the car shows, things like that. Came across this big red Mack truck, circus wagon. If this Evel Knievel circus wagon pulls into your town, you're in for a really good time.
Right.
But it was dilapidated. My friend had restored a Harley Davidson for the Killer in Memphis. Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yeah.
And they had a mutual friend and referred Lathan to Mike, and Mike restored this Mack truck. He's a Harley dealer.
Yeah.
He'll work on any Harley no matter what year it is. If
Yeah.
it's 1910 or 1980, he works on it. Most dealers won't do that. But to take on a Mack truck was, quite courageous.
Yeah, you betcha.
And then once it's done, what do? Your traveling museum is over with. 'Cause
Right.
You're not going to take that thing on the road.
Right.
So Mike and Lathan together, they founded the museum there in Topeka, Kansas. So it was all a little bit by accident or luck.
Yeah.
But to be intentional, it would be in Las Vegas.
Yeah, man. This is a great spot for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, in 1977, it was kind of lost, and he lost everything or most things, and including his fame. Just kind of went away. It wasn't in the Inquirer every month or year.
Sure.
He just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I forgot about him and volunteered at the museum, and then just fell in love with his story of courage and inspiration and the things that he brings to us. Guys our age coming into the museum, and the wife thinks they're doing the world's best present. This is his birthday.
Yeah.
Look what I brought him.
Yeah,
And it
right.
really, truly is a gift, because they walk in and it's not like they missed up or you get emotional right away. But oh my God, he's 10 years old again.
Yeah.
Look at him, he's shrinking. His freckles are coming back.
Yep, it's the truth.
It's so great.
It is. I mean, we grew up with this. Talk about an influence, a hero, as a kid growing up. Huge. It's huge. Long before there were BMX bikes, we were taking our Stingrays and jumping cinder blocks on the street, jumping over our friends on the street, No helmets, no anything like that, just doing it. We're all still here.
That one unlucky bastard with the shift
With the
lever right
shifter,
there.
right, absolutely.
Forget that.
I know. That's going to hurt, bro. That is the truth. That's the truth, man. But it was Evel Knievel, for Pete's sake. And one of the just amazing things that I always think about with Evel Knievel was, when he said he was going to do it, he put on the show for the crowd, even if he knew in the back of his mind this was not going to work. He never backed down. He never backed down.
Yeah.
The guy had no fear. I mean, that's wild. You look at some of this stuff.
He's like, what am I going to do? Give them their money back?
Right. I know. And you also look at the technology that he did not have for that era.
Yeah, that was a street motorcycle.
Right. You look at today, and you see the incredible things that these daredevils are able to accomplish today. Yeah. They have technology beyond belief. And I'm not taking anything away from them. It's amazing. But look at what Evel Knievel did on a street bike with 4 inches of travel. What? Yeah.
Send it.
Insane. So some years ago, I was part of when Travis Pastrana came out here, and he did 3 things. Did you see that?
Evil Live.
Right, Evil Live. I was on that with him, and did a lot of the things. So, and he's a wonderful young man, by the way, Travis Pastrana. What a cool cat. Again, an amazing daredevil. Hung out with his mom while he was doing these things.
Oh man,
God bless
poor
her.
mom.
Oh my, exactly. She's just like losing her mind, And what he accomplished was amazing. But technology, and he even tried to dial back the technology as much as he could to pay respect to Evel. But still, the technology had, was a bit more. It was a bit more than what Evel had. And you look at these things, and it's like, you've got to be kidding me, watching this with this guy. Again, Evel Knievel had no fear, even if he knew in the back of his mind this was not going to work.
So true.
Yeah,
So heroic.
yeah. That's what whiskey's for.
Wild turkey.
That's right. That's right.
If somebody came to you and said, just asking your creative mind,
Okay.
what would be the ultimate tribute vehicle for Evel Knievel? Like if you were going to build that in your shop.
That's tough because, like you said, he was a Cadillac guy. And I love the fact that he loved the Stutz and things like that. But, man, when I think of Evel Knievel, I just think of that old school Harley Davidson, You can't help it. The pictures, when I look at that logo behind you here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
XR.
It's just, it would, for me, it would be something like that because that's what we saw all the time. That was it.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
I love that Patriot bike that you did on your show. It had the Constitution on the back.
Yeah.
That's not Evel Knievel, but it's
Thank you.
Stars and Stripes.
I appreciate that. I'm a flag-waving, patriotic, God-loving American. So if we can't stand behind the Stars and Stripes, go away. That's how I feel about it. So I'm proud to wave that flag wherever I can. Amen to that.
Yeah.
Our Constitution, our yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. I'll go crazy on that.
But anyways, that's what we would do for Evel Knievel.
Yeah,
Take
absolutely.
an XR750 Harley Davidson.
Yep.
And put Stars and Stripes on it.
And I love the fact that Evel was huge on the Stars. The Star. His outfits were extremely patriotic. He was America. He was a slice of Americana right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it wasn't popular, 1968, he had his first red, white, and blue, and he had that made for. Well, that was the year that he did Caesar's Palace here in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And motorcycling was different then.
There was a taboo to it.
And he was counter to the counterculture.
Yeah.
Soldiers coming back from Vietnam, getting spat on, baby killers. And he's like, can you make me a red, white, and blue?
Amen.
Letters.
Love that about him.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
Worked out great. That is a great look.
Without a doubt.
Lasted 50 years.
Yeah, and and again, as an Elvis fan too, there was a certain Elvis flair to some of them jumpsuits too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Kind of had that vibe to it. It was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Now that I'm on Evil's side and not Elvis, I'm a huge Elvis Presley fan too.
Absolutely.
They could compare belt buckles, right?
Sure.
They could compare collars.
Right, exactly.
But only one of them gets called a jumpsuit.
Right, that's a good point.
Right.
That's a good point. Only one of them was jumping.
Yeah.
That's true. That's great. That's great.
Any advice for a young bootstrapping museum moving to Las Vegas?
I would say be prepared to live with it. You're gonna live with it, night and day. I can't say that I'm one that can give good advice as what to do, but I tell you what I do, and that is I do my best, and nobody is perfect. Nobody can pull it off, but I do my best to just treat everybody right. I try to be honest with everybody. I try to go the extra mile with everybody. I try to make sure that nobody feels like they got had when they do business with me, that everybody walks away feeling good, even if I got to take it in the shorts to make sure that customer is happy. Go over and above, do the extra mile, and don't stop saying your prayers.
Yeah. That's some really great advice.
That's what works, man. I keep laying that out there, but it's the truth, man. It's the truth. Don't stop saying your prayers. It's what works. It's the only thing that's real. So that's what I stand on.
Thank you, Mr. Koker.
Brother, thank
really
you for having me.
Really appreciate you being here.
It's an honor, and hope and pray and trust and believe that this museum will be so huge and so successful for you. I think it is absolutely wonderful. I love that it is coming to Las Vegas. I love that you're bringing it here. You got my support. Whatever we can do, let's have some fun with this, brother. I'm with you 100%.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for
Koker.
having me. I appreciate
you
too.
too.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, happy landings.
All right. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. It's our mission to preserve and present the legacy of Evel Knievel. So if you have an idea for an episode or a guest, or have a suggestion to improve our show, just drop us a line at joe@thrill.show.
Like, I just think the Evel Knievel way.
We leave you with the encouraging words from the book of Deuteronomy. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. Until next time, happy landings.
You like to fly to the seat of your pants? This is where you belong.